everyone, and welcome to our episode 2 of our Meet the Team series. My name is Steph. I'm your host here at BEACN, and I'm so excited to be able to chat with our good friend Kyler, DSP Engineer here at BEACN. Kyler, how you doing today?
I'm great. I'm stoked to be here.
Woo!
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, hello friends. Welcome in. Thank you all so much for joining. It's our second ever live stream that we're here with. So with that being said, Kyler, how you feeling? It's so good to have you on here.
Yeah, I'm great. No, I'm happy. Like I said, I'm happy to be here. Happy
Is
to
this
fill in
your
some people with
first
some
is
technical
this your
stuff.
first stream that you've been a part of?
This is my first BEACN stream, official BEACN stream. Yeah, because I've
Woohoo!
been in a few other stuff with CLX and a few other building companies and stuff. So not my first time, but one of them.
Oh, we're so happy to have you in your first official BEACN stream. We want to let everyone at home get a chance to get to know you a little bit more. And so before we dive into your role at BEACN and what exactly you do, we're here on Twitch. People play video games on Twitch. We all love video games here. So I love to start off all of our episodes here with just asking you, what was the first video game you ever played?
Oh man, yeah, I was actually thinking about this question because it's sometimes it's hard to roll back that far, and I'm like, okay, what really was? And I think it was, I mean, probably the first thing was like in like an Atari or like probably like
Mm,
Mario or something like that on NES. But the first time I ever played a game that really like locked me in, it's a game called Zed. It
okay.
was like just the letter Z or Z, depending on what country you're
Yeah.
from. Um, and it was like a game where it was like an RTS where you fought with these robots. And my neighbor had it, and I remember him putting me on his computer, and they were having like a parent barbecue, and of course I was kind of bored. So, and he's like, "Oh, try this game out. We've got it on our computer." So I sat on that thing, and I was there the next day knocking on the door to see
Yeah.
if I could play it again. And he's like, "I guess so." So anyway, eventually I got so hooked on that thing, and it's like I'm still today like just obsessed with RTS games. So that was probably the first one, but like it was my aunt had a PC as well, and before I did, and I was playing some like King's Quest stuff like that. But I was like
Mhm.
hooked on it ever since,
Yeah.
pretty
Oh,
much.
that's
And there's so
that
many more, of course, but
Yeah, that's so awesome. I know for me, part of why I love this question is I just have this like core memory. For me, it was Super Mario 64 was my first ever video game. And that is just what sparked this soon to be passion, obsession with games. Like once I got Mario 64, I wanted every video game on the N64, and then I wanted a GameCube, and then I started just playing as much video games as I possibly
and that
could.
game is so good. It's
Right?
like Mario 64 is so good. I'd still like go back and play it every once in a while. And hard too. It's
You know,
perfect.
it's crazy that in 2024 you play it and you can't appreciate it in the same way that, when you were playing it when it first came out. It was revolutionary to have a 3D game like that where you could move around was
Oh
so cool.
absolutely.
Yeah. Did I hear a Canadian accent from Kyler? I see from
Oh.
chat. A lot of the BEACN team is based in Canada. I'm currently, I think, maybe one of the only ones who's not based in Canada. But I did live in Toronto for almost 10 years, but I'm not currently there. But Kyler, where are you coming to us from?
Victoria. Yeah,
Yeah.
Victoria, BC. I grew up on Vancouver Island, and so I'm working in Victoria, which is about 45 minutes away from where I grew up on a little lake. So definitely 100% Canadian.
Yeah, the BEACN family is very much Canadian around here. So yeah, thank you for joining us here today and telling us about video games. But let's get started into talking about kind of how you ended up getting into this industry. So tell us a little bit about how just you kind of came to be here at BEACN a little bit before BEACN. Where were you? Kind of how did you get here?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I've been always been kind of the tech guy my whole life. I've been the friend that has like that gets really into all the technology stuff. So like through playing video games, and of course I had the parents that were like, "You're wasting your time with those things, and you're never going to amount to anything with video games." And I'm sitting
Right.
inside on a summer day playing a game, and of course that can be bad. But at the same time, I ended up going into a lot of audio specific stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I worked for a company kind of out of high school that installed audio video stuff for home theaters, so like big high end home theaters and car audio. I did that without any official training, kind of went into that. And then I decided to take a electronics engineering course at a small college. And then I went from there and got my electrical engineering degree with UVic. And out of that, they have a co-op program. So with that, you
Yeah.
get placed in job placements. And one of them was TC Helicon. So that was about 7 years ago now. I got my first co-op there and started working with our one of our senior DSP engineers, Lars. So I got placed with him right away, and I'm continue to work with him now. So through TC Helicon, I worked there for my entire rest of my co-op, and then another few years after, where I was part of the team where we developed the Go XLR. And then when that kind of came to an end, and then we came over to BEACN, I came over with a majority of that team as well. So I've been
Oh,
here
that's
since the
so
beginning, and that was all, yeah, the rest is sort of history.
yeah, that's so awesome. What was it about audio specifically that drew you to kind of being one of your main focuses that you were to work on? Because it sounds to me like you
Yeah.
dabbled in a lot of different aspects. What was it about audio that like excited you?
Funny enough, I spent most of my professional career working with audio, so it's always
Mm,
been something. I mean, I still remember the days of, like, getting into these, like, 5 to $10,000 car audio systems that you're just like, "Oh my god, it sounds so good in here." It's
yeah,
like shaking your head off, but, like, not only that, but, like, the amount of pure, like, power in these speakers compared to, like, that always just made me excited. So going into school, I focused on a lot of the digital signal processing courses, and audio, analysis stuff that kind of drew me towards that, mostly on a hardware level.
right.
So I was designing circuit boards and that sort of stuff. Um, but it's honestly, it's always just excited me. And so going in, when I found a co-op position with TC Helicon, I was just like so ecstatic when I got an interview, and then they finally hired me into that. It's because it was like I got placed in sort of some solar electric stuff before that, and I got
Yeah.
placed in a few other companies that did some like interactive like art stuff, which was really cool. There's a company called Limbic Media I did a stint with, and they
Hmm.
designed like interactive audio art pieces. So you'd like talk to these
Oh,
trees with
cool.
LEDs, and they'd make all this really cool like, yeah, that was really neat. So that helped actually. Some of that actually helped in kind of designing this LED ring and how these interact with our voices
Right.
and stuff, because these are all interactive LEDs. So that was kind of something else I did as a younger engineer in training. So, but yeah,
Oh.
audio has just always been something I've been passionate about, and I'm a
Mhm.
musician a little bit as well, not professionally, but I make my own music and love to do that stuff. So,
Oh, that's amazing. And I feel like that comes through, with BEACN being this product that was made for creators. You can really see
mhm.
just kind of the attention to detail. But also, if you are a musician, I think musicians are able to use BEACN products. And we have a ton of musicians who use BEACN products as well. So I think that's so awesome. And I also love you pointing out kind of the lights here we have on our BEACN mics. We both have different setups, but it's all customizable. So you can kind of choose to make it how you see fit.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
We put so much time into designing this LED ring, you wouldn't even imagine. It's like way more than we should have probably, but we really wanted it to be, like, perfect because it's just, like, it's really blends really well, the LEDs react properly, like, the colors are all, like, precise. It took and the mechanical design alone was just, like, so much work, so but I'm glad
Oh,
we landed where we did.
what was one of the biggest challenges with making this, light to be what it was?
Probably diffusion mostly, different materials and how you see like, we didn't want it to be spotty. We didn't wanna see, like, little
Right.
spots, and you don't wanna see the LEDs, you just want it to be one big bar, right? So and there's so many products out there that do RGB LEDs that you can see all the LEDs in it, and it just to me, it's like, ugh, I don't really like it. It just seems cheap, so, yeah, we really wanted it to blend, so there's, like, refraction going on in there with different
Yeah.
materials, and it's pretty wild, but we got it where we wanted it, and I'm pretty happy about it.
Oh, that's so cool. Judaris, our lovely CEO Craig is saying that LED rings send me to the hospital. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. Well,
Yeah. Don't give him a knife.
oh my gosh. Well, let's talk about what it means to be a DSP engineer, especially for our less tech savvy friends at home. What is it that you do as a DSP engineer? What does DSP even mean?
Sure. Yeah, this is a pretty common question. Hopefully, I can shed some light on it.
Yeah.
So DSP stands for digital signal processing. So that's
Mm,
a pretty cloud. It's a pretty open concept. I mean, that can be applied to video or audio or any kind of digital signal you're passing through wires. Specifically for me, it's processing the audio in the microphone. So for those who don't know, all of our products have onboard processors in them. So this microphone has a board in it that processes all the audio coming through my microphone into the computer. So none of this processing is done on the actual application. It's all done inside the mic. So there's a processor in there that
mhm.
has a bunch of different algorithms like EQ and noise suppression and the big bottom we put in or the exciter
Yeah.
and a few others. All that stuff is actually algorithms that we wrote
Wow.
and to run and process the audio. So more specifically, I deal with writing those algorithms alongside with some of my colleagues. So we basically get the audio processed, DSP, digital signal processing into the mic. So that kind of carries on into a few other things on app side as well and a little few others, but that's sort of the blanket answer. I'd be happy to elaborate on that if anyone has any more questions, but
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. And as we're talking, I do want to let the friends at home who are watching know if you have any questions about what we're talking about, please feel free to ask in chat. We'll be going through questions along the way as well as at the end of the stream. So if there's something you want further clarified or like, ooh, I want to know more about that. Apparently, I was told that Craig did actually go to the hospital because of the
You did, yeah.
the light. What happened? What's
Yeah.
the story with that?
We were we were fiddling around with different, materials, for light diffusion, so we had a bunch of different LED strip lights products that we were kinda picking from different places all over the market and trying to figure out different diffusion tactics, and it was like, I think he was cutting an LED strip and it slipped and, like, he ended up sticking the X-Acto knife into his leg by, like, an inch and a half into his leg.
Oh
Like,
my
pretty
gosh.
bad. It was a pretty bad cut. It was like, "Uh-oh,
Here
this is
I
not
thought
stopping,"
that
so
Craig was just being
oh, it was
funny.
his
Like that
arm. It
was
was his
real.
arm, sorry. Yeah, I don't remember. It was some appendage.
Oh my
Not a
gosh.
phalange, but an appendage. That's right, yeah.
Literal
So,
blood, sweat, and tears to get this to be
yeah.
the beautiful light that we see here today on the BEACN mic. Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah, exactly. That
Wow.
was probably the biggest injury I've sustained. Lots of soldering iron burns and probably some long-term damage from some of the stress, but let's not talk about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So going back to you being a DSP engineer, having a lot to do with the algorithms and the processing that this mic goes through, what would you say is one of the hardest things that, especially people who are watching at home, might not understand about what it is to kind of get Beacon Mic to sound the way it is? Is there any kind of uncovered secrets or just things that you wish that people knew about more when getting their Beacon Mic and kind of learning more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. The whole goal here was to kind of create a microphone that was like around the quality of like an SM7B or a high end XLR
Right.
mic. So the biggest the hardest thing was getting a USB powered dynamic mic to sound like that with algorithms and getting the right
Right.
design, and like there's a lot of credit goes towards the mechanical design and all that, making that just sound out of the box good. But now the putting the processing in. So like the biggest thing was like getting in like our noise floor downs and designing all our preamps inside to make sure
Yeah.
everything is quiet. And being in an isolated scenario where you have a processor with all that stuff going on and blocking out external noise and that sort of thing was a big challenge. And getting all these certified for EMC and that kind of thing is it. These are all little engineering things that were always big leaps for all of our products. We spent a lot of time trying to get those working. So yeah, the biggest thing was basically just getting this to be the quality that we wanted it to be.
Right.
And like through our algorithms or design. So and I think we got there and I'm happy about it. So but it was definitely a struggle with some of these things. The denoising was something that needed and didn't there was all these algorithms were designed from the ground up. Like we wrote them from
Yeah.
scratch. So this we can credit Lars on this one. This is I mentioned him before. He's our senior DSP engineer. And he's got like, years and years of experience in this field. So he actually wrote this denoising algorithm from the basically DSP fundamentals that are in like a textbook. Like this stuff is
Wow.
just like I've never met anyone in my life that can do this. So it's a privilege to work with them. But yeah, big brain Lars, exactly. So he's so he's written this stuff to like, and it's incredible. It's real time and it blocks out like anything. Like I could have a massive fan behind me and you wouldn't hear it at all. And it doesn't degrade your noise at all. And I'm not using a video card to process that. I'm using a tiny little processor inside this thing. So
Right.
those were some of the biggest struggles of just getting those algorithms like toned in and working the way they should.
Yeah. Oh, it's so amazing. We were talking even before this broadcast. Something I was telling you about was how, sometimes like the real-time processing in the monitoring in the Beacon mic is so zero delay that I sometimes can't even hear it in terms of like, oh yeah, my voice is being monitored, but it just sounds to me like my voice. So it's so cool. And I love getting to hear a little bit more about kind of what went into that, which is so cool. Um,
Yeah, and that's the benefits of having the processing on the mic is you get to hear yourself in real time with that
mhm,
processing rather than hearing it before it's processed, because if it goes into the computer to be processed and gets sent back to you again, there's a lot of latency. And
right.
I don't forever's whoever's tried to monitor their voice, it's with latency, it's literally impossible. I can't handle it. It's like it makes your brain want to explode. So that's the first thing when people buy our microphones and the monitoring's on, they're like, "Oh my god, I'm not used to hearing my voice," and it's, like, a little
Yeah.
jarring because it's just like, why would you? And before that,
I know
but
before I started using, BEACN mics, I would just turn off the monitoring, like, if I ever could, I was like, "I really don't want I don't wanna hear it.
yeah,
I'll
but
stream
it's
without
really
it."
so good for
Yeah.
training yourself as a broadcaster because it, like, helps you with vocal training so well, and you know what you're
Yep.
hearing, you know what you're saying, you know what you're hearing, you can be more dynamic with your microphone. So anyone that's my biggest recommendation for anyone starting out, especially, is like just get used to hearing yourself. It helps.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely awesome. So I want to also take a moment to talk a little bit more about the BEACN Mix Create as well as the BEACN mic. And I think one of the most impressive things is that you're getting a physical audio controller, but then you're also getting this software that comes along with it. So I wanted to talk about kind of what were some of your roles and impacts in making the software be what it is today.
Sure, yeah, of course. So most of the heavy lifting for the software or for the mix create is the app side. That's where we process all the different audio channels and
Yeah.
virtual audio channels. So that stuff was all done. The actual creation of that was done by our app developer Luke, also another big brain, like you wouldn't believe these guys.
Yeah.
So, and who wrote the app almost completely on his own, by the way. So that's also something to say. But
Hmm.
but that is the whole creation of this thing stemmed from years of of us being in this industry, not only with BEACN, but with TC Helicon and Go XLR,
Yeah.
being part of that team, and Craig going out the first time and being talking to streamers and saying like, "Hey, what do you guys do with your audio? Like, how do you manage?" And people are like, "Oh my god, I have a guy. Like I got a guy that's my audio up, and he comes in, and if it
Yeah.
breaks, it's oh my god, and I don't know." So like, there's clearly like a space there where we could help. So that's where the Go XLR came out, and the Go XLR was the first shot, right? Like that was,
Right.
and as you all know, it's like kind of revolutionized the streaming industry and what the norm is for audio quality and setup. So we wanted to take that and make it even easier. So now like we've got this mix create with a USB-C jack, and that's it. And
Yeah.
then everything on the on the computer. And luckily we kind of been working with in par with how Windows has come up with like their virtual audio channel, or sorry, their volume mixing stuff. But we've implemented our own mixer now. So basically, to sum things up, that application is designed by our community. Like it's
Yeah.
the features in it are from streamers, or from feedback, and we've always based our company off of that. It's like if someone has something they want to see, we will do our best to put it in if it makes sense, especially since at the beginning. So like we have, as you mentioned before, there's a page where you can request features and request
Yep.
that sort of thing. If it's in there and people want it, we'll put it in, because how am I supposed to necessarily know as a non-content creator that like we need extra audio stems for a VOD track? You know, like
Right.
that excludes music. Like I don't stream myself, but I can, and like I said, I can only put myself in those shoes so long before I don't know anything, right? So basically community, honestly, that's like how we've created this and the way it is. And then of
Yeah.
course we have our own creative spins on things, and we get to, as a programmer, I get to kind of put things in that I want, which is fun. So yeah, that's, to sum it up, basically the community designed this thing.
Yeah.
And we will continue to use that as our main concrete like foundation for all our products.
Ah, that's so awesome. And you heard it here, folks at home. If you haven't used our ideas portals or want to submit feedback, please feel free, as well as in our Discord channels on social media. Let us know, because it is something that, due to feedback, things have actually been created. Here at
Yeah,
BEACN, we're
exactly.
looking to kind of solve problems that streamers directly and creators are kind of facing with. And I know when you talked about the streamer world of like, I have a guy, that was definitely me for the longest time. Was yeah, can you help me set this up? And it's when you're a streamer, I mean, of course there's a broad range of different types of streamers. I mean, there are some tech focused streamers who really know how to work their own setups, but there's a lot of streamers who, it's more about their interactivity with their chat, and like having to focus on all these different aspects of the tech side is really stressful. And so I love that BEACN can kind of provide, an answer to that. And I think it's so awesome. Yes, also, we are taking questions from Twitch chat. So, chat, if you have any questions for Kyler, even if they're non tech related, maybe you want to know what Kyler had for breakfast yesterday. Anything you want to know, feel free to let us
Yesterday,
know in chat as well, while we're kind of going through here and grabbing some questions and whatnot. So another thing that I definitely want to talk about is we recently announced a huge update to the BEACN app. So it was the big USB rework update. Tell us a little bit about kind of what our newest update to the BEACN app really brought, and kind of what went into that.
Yeah, for sure. That's been a big question. Without getting too technical, I'm sure there's probably some people that are interested in the nitty gritty details. Maybe I'll start with some of the specifics of that. So basically, what we did is like we changed all our USB communication protocols over from what's called HID to bulk endpoint. So what HID devices are something like your mouse or your keyboard,
Hmm.
sort of basic low communication, low bandwidth devices that are kind of just like simple. So this isn't simple. So, but we are using that protocol to communicate with our devices out of the get go because it doesn't require any special drivers in Windows, and that was a benefit.
Yeah.
Because the more drivers you have, the more things can be a little more complicated.
Hmm.
So what we did is we had to rip the band-aid off at some point, and we needed to integrate all our products over to go into what's called bulk endpoint. So and then of course on top of that with USB stability, we've reworked a lot of all of the error checking and handling and with messages and between our devices and with our screens and
Yeah.
so there's been so much like Craig mentioned in our last stream that I think there was like something like over 250 commits in our
Yeah.
Git repository for this stuff. Like, there's like so many little things and it's a lot of them are focused on stability and just checking with the devices and handshaking and error checking. So, and that was all things that we just needed to have these products out to find these problems because we just don't have a big enough test team or like the to get the stuff out. So as we've released, we found all the problems and we've tried to address literally all of them. So that is the nitty gritty details of that as we went from an HID communication device to a bulk endpoint device. So if you want to ask more about that, could probably elaborate, but
Yeah.
it's pretty complicated, and I don't. Yeah, it took me a long time to wrap my head around it. So this should be more stable. So now what we're doing is we're including these specific drivers that use bulk endpoint into our new driver installer. So that we'll be rolling out a new beta software very soon. I think we just have to internally test it. And then that rolls out a whole new driver set for all this stuff as well. So it's going to switch everything into a much more stable communication protocol. So that's basically what we've been doing. It's unfortunately a little boring, but we're built like Craig said before too. We're building this foundation so it's strong, so we can add the fun stuff on top, and it won't make it all fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge, a huge undertaking, but to really make sure that going forward, any future updates are going to be a lot easier to implement and a lot less frustrating, I think that's so important and that's so awesome. How much of going through kind of working through these updates were you directly involved with, or would you say that it really was like a full team effort to kind of get everything to be where it
Well,
is
it's funny
now?
because our team isn't very big, so
You
especially our
think?
engineering team,
Yeah.
like we have. I do a little bit of I kind of do dabble in a little bit of everything in this company on the tech side. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but I do a little bit of traveling with and go to some of these conventions and meet and greets and technical support. I'll go on the
Yeah.
floor. I also do been dabbling in some app development, and then I do some firmware and some hardware analysis stuff. So I'm kind of all over the place. So me personally, I do tend to be involved in quite a few of these little meetings surrounding the stability stuff.
Yeah.
If it's specifically app development things, and it's not really in my wheelhouse, but um, yeah. So it's the whole process has been like it's hard to make these big choices alone, right? So we don't have
Right.
like a small team over here doing this. So like we have to get everybody involved. Like in many cases saying like, "Hey, where's the direction? What are we doing with this?" So if it's a major tech issue, then we get like, half the staff is in a meeting being like, how do we
Right.
fix this?" Right. So we get everyone from like someone who's like a technical lead or to someone who doesn't have anything to do with the technical, because sometimes like the solution is not in the technicalities. It's in like in the more of the creative process, right? So like, what if we
Right.
could do this, right? And without knowing the limitations of your technical boundaries, you can say, and then we can say like, no, we can't, but wait a minute, maybe we can, right? So that
Right.
whole creative process is really cool in a small team.
Yeah.
So I would say that I mean, I am involved in quite a bit of that stuff, but so is everyone else.
Oh, awesome. I'm seeing a great question from Frugal Streamer YouTube. What's your favorite overlooked part of Beacon Mic? Mine, the headphone amp. God, I love that thing.
Definitely.
Do
Yeah,
you
a lot of
have
people
your
don't
own?
plug into it.
Yeah.
They're like, wait a minute. It's like, yeah, there's a spot for it.
Yeah. Oh, do you have any
And
other
if
kind of overlooked, underappreciated things about Beacon Mic that not enough folks talk
There's so
about?
much going on in the background that I guess we could call unappreciated, but that's okay because that's kind of the point. Like they're supposed to just help you, and you're not supposed to have to be like, oh, what's it doing?
Yeah.
Like for example, the noise suppression is like, um, For those of you that I believe it's enabled by default in the older versions, but the beta definitely revisits all the default values for the microphone chain. So
Yeah.
like it comes out of the box sounding a lot nicer in my opinion. So but the denoising is just like doing such an amazing job. You don't even know it's on and it just like cuts things out. Like I invited everyone to go into their mic chain and their mic if they have one and just like turn all of your mic things off. Just like see what your mic
Right.
sounds like without them. And you're like, and then especially the noise suppression and the expander, they're just like it's insane. Like we did some live demos on the Twitch floor or TwitchCon
Yeah.
floor 2 years ago, and we had a very like a huge booth, and it was like we were right beside the main stage, and people were just like putting these headphones on, and then they would like we'd like turn on the noise suppression and expander, and it'd be like, and they're like, whoa! Like I was like, oh
Right.
my god, you can't! And you could do a live stream like with a main stage behind you, and
Yeah.
it's like still quite good. Like you'd still, um, yeah, it was like it's so just like the denoising and the noise suppression stuff is like a real big wow factor for me. It always like it always impresses me. Um, but that's
Yeah.
the other thing too is like yeah, the headphone amp is something we did actually put. It's not just like, oh, here's a headphone amp. We put like a specialized like high power headphone, like high quality headphone amp into it, like for like that matches like a high end DAC. So if you're not utilizing that, I recommend you
Y
do.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Insane the Rain can confirm I was floored by the noise reduction at TwitchCon, no pun intended.
Nice, yeah.
Oh, but does the mic have any kind of quick tap to mute?
If you're using a mix create, you can. We
Mhm.
didn't. We went with this. We went with a decision to not put any actual user interactive like UI on the microphone itself. Mostly because this, like, you don't really. I don't
Ah,
even know if you can hear that,
yeah,
but
you
like,
can.
it, people are smacking around their mics. Like, it just like doesn't sound good. Like, and you're fumbling for a button or turning the volume up. Like, here's me turning my headphone volume up. Like, that's not a quality stream thing, right? Like, we kind of try to veer away from that, mostly because we knew we were going to give people a controller to control that stuff on their desk. So like I can mute my mic with the press of the mix create right now if I want to.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that was a perfect example. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard the
Yeah.
sounds. It's definitely not fun. Drix is coming in saying, mine is the tutorials, the underrated feature. A lot of people don't know you can click question marks in the mic chain window and it'll tell you about the exact component and have a link to a video timestamped for that exact component. So
Exactly.
awesome.
So
If you
this
didn't know
feedback
it.
even alone is so good, right? Like a lot of
Right.
people don't know that that exists. And then there's also a feature in the app that has the loopback recording. Is that what you just mentioned? Sorry, but like there's things that are like sort of hidden. Like we put all these feature rich things in, and then we realize that they're either too hard to find or um or like the onboarding process. So like one thing we are really going to focus on in the near future is an onboarding process. So like you come into the application, you have um like a screen that greets you and says like let's set your mic up for you. You set your gain, you set your compression and your EQ and stuff. Like once you can set it and leave it forever. You don't have to go back if you don't want to. We
Mhm.
hide some of the more complicated UI aspects for mic setups. You don't really ever need to go into them. If you do,
Right.
you can find them. um getting people just holding some hands on the way into our product, like because it can be very confusing. But I mean, if for the people that know what we're doing, it's simplified so many people's lives, but at the same time it's can still be very overwhelming for a brand new user, especially if they're not interested. A lot of people just don't really want to mess around
Right.
with it. They just want it to work, and that's fine
Right.
too. So we're working towards catering to those folks, so you still don't have to learn. You can just get up and go with it.
Yep. Taking a look at the Twitch chat right now, Jaderis agreeing mine's the loop recorder. Being able to adjust settings while not having to keep talking into it is pretty sweet. I agree right there. Gemini saying anytime people tap to mute their mics, I can hear it. Love that I can't with Beacon. You can't even tell I muted other than the light change. Yeah, so cool. So cool. Also, for those of you who are just joining us, if you're wondering, why is everybody randomly writing Hilbo? Who even is Hilbo? Isn't Hilbo that cute red little mascot that Beacon's got? Anyone who writes Hilbo in the chat will be entered for a giveaway for a Beacon product of your choice. So if you don't want to miss out, we'll be drawing a winner closer to the end of our stream. And if you're just tuning in and you're like, what's going on here? What's going on with this live stream? Welcome to our second episode of our Meet the Team series. I'm here with Kyler, who is our DSP engineer. And we're getting to know Kyler, talk a little bit more about the behind the scenes of some of the decisions that go on at Beacon and learn more about what a DSP engineer even is. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask away as we kind of continue on and get to know Kyler a bit. So thanks everyone for being here so far. We got a question from Alex. Will you be adding more presets to the mic for those who don't really know how to use EQ?
Yeah, that actually is a plan for us in the near future. I think that's going to be helpful. There's a few things we need to revamp with the UI first, to
Hmm.
make that make more sense. But yes, absolutely, we're going to try to get that in there for you. Um, and it may not even be specifically EQ. It could be something related to the whole all the mic setup, like something. So yeah, it's definitely in the works.
Oh,
Give you
so
a better starting point
exciting.
for especially for more for streamers with like higher pitch voices.
Yes.
It can be very useful to have a better starting point than that comes out of the box. So we're
I'm very
looking
much
into getting more
excited for
feedback
that.
on that. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely, absolutely. You all at Beacon need to affiliate so we get Hillbo emotes. Exactly. Well, we just started this month streaming for the very first time, so hopefully we'll be able to get some emotes on the channel here very very soon. Oh, you talked a little bit earlier about expander, and so I kind of wanted to talk about the differences between having an expander versus a noise gate, right? This is something that a
Sure.
couple of folks at Beacon have talked about, but I want to get your perspective on kind of like what is the difference and why did Beacon choose to go the route that they did with implementing the expander how it is currently?
Yeah, definitely. So, what an expander does is it essentially, well, I'll explain what a gate does first for those that may
Yeah.
not know. So, a gate is what it blocks audio below a certain level. So, if I stop talking, for example, right now,
Yeah.
and anything that's not as loud as my voice will be blocked out, like and just hard blocked. Like it's either it's gone completely. So it's
Mhm.
either on or off. A lot of guitar players use it on stage so they don't feedback and that sort of thing. So when you're
Right.
playing, you hear, but when you don't, it'll just be muted. So that's a gate. It's literally a gate. It's open or
Yeah.
closed. So what an expander does is it kind of it attenuates your level based on how close you are to that point.
Mhm.
So if I start getting quiet, what happens is that my audio level drops below where my threshold is.
Yeah.
This it'll still come through, but it'll be attenuated
Mhm.
or quietened. So the closer I get to that threshold where I want audio to come through, it allows everything through. But anything below it is not just closed off like a gate. It's actually
Right.
slowly attenuated based on how far away it is from that threshold. So what it does is it gives you like a significantly more like smooth transition to that point. So if I'm like too far away right here and my gate's not set up properly, you're going to hear my voice going cutting in and out, right?
Right. Right.
Whereas an expander will kind of adjust as you get closer. So it just like it's better at blocking background noise out but not giving you like a jarring experience. Significantly better for like vocal stuff and broadcasting.
Right. Oh, that makes a ton of sense. Another question from a frugal streamer. Can you explain the exciter part of the processing?
Sure. Yeah. An exciter's kind of a fun algorithm.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun designing that one. Actually, it's neat. So what it does, I'll tell you the hairy part of it first. So basically, what an exciter does is it adds what's called harmonic distortion to your voice.
Mhm.
So non-harmonic distortion is not good. You don't want that. It sounds
Mm.
awful to the human ear, but harmonic distortion is actually quite pleasant. And it's something that like vacuum tubes, for example, and guitar amps create harmonic distortion. And that's why people
Whoa.
kind of like the warmth of them, the sound of them. They have like a really pleasant sound to the human ear.
Yeah.
Um, so what an exciter does is it takes the high end of your voice, and I think mine's set up to be anything above four kilohertz, so
Right.
quite high. And then it actually clips the upper half of the sound wave, and
Mm.
not the bottom half. So it basically cuts just the top half and not the bottom half, and then re-adds it into your voice. So
Right.
what it does is creates like this presence, and the purpose of it is just create like a voice that is kind of punches through a broadcast.
Mhm.
So, well, a little bit too much of it, it can get a little bit too high endy, and you'll notice if you really crank it and yell into your mic, you'll actually hear it kind of crackle a little bit, and that's like
Right.
it's actually intended. It's not intended to be that loud, but that's sort of what it's doing. So it's actually like adding distortion in a high end to your voice to create an effect where it punches through.
Yeah. Yeah, seen from chat, the expander sounds so useful. I've heard a noise gate with bad settings too many times.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we can turn our expander into a noise gate by adjusting the parameters, if you
Yeah.
want to, but otherwise, and you can make it really soft or really aggressive or whatever you want.
Yeah. Oh, I love Grant saying Exciter is just sparkle for us non-techies. Yeah.
Pretty much, or guitar players, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Any plans for a limited edition Beacon Bacon windscreen that looks like crispy bacon? Thanks.
Only if we can get the smell down.
Oh my gosh.
I have to give a shout out to someone who mentioned that their microphone's name is Kevin Beacon.
Yeah.
They named it Kevin Beacon. Like, I love that.
That's amazing.
Someone in our parking lot, we have, like, these reserve signs for,
Really?
our parking spots, and someone, like, scratched it out and put "Beacon, please" underneath, like, "Bacon, please." They made it look
Oh,
like
that's
bacon, and I'm
so
like,
good.
It's kind of funny.
There is so much pun potential with BEACN, I
I
think.
know. I mean, do we embrace this? I don't know. Is it a good idea? But you know what? I'm going for it.
So, yeah, stay tuned.
Everyone loves
A
bacon, right?
question from earlier. What are some fun stuff that we could look forward to that you're currently testing that we're able to talk about? So maybe we could talk about some of the things that we just recently released or anything that makes sense.
Yeah, so the biggest thing around here is this beta release. So if you go to our website, you can download the beta app, which will then
Woo!
install all the beta firmware on your devices. It is a beta, so there can be and maybe problems associated with it. So I wouldn't do it just before you stream. But if you are willing to jump in on that, we are eternally grateful because the more people that are doing it, the more feedback we get. It is quite good. We wouldn't give you something that's completely broken. So give it a shot. And then hop into our Discord as well and give us some feedback on it. If it's good or bad, whatever you want. We love hearing it. So that would be the biggest thing. And we've been working on this update for like over a year. Like
Mhm.
people have been very patient. We really appreciate that. So, um, yeah. And then of course we've got some new products in the pipeline too, which we're excited to announce soon. So, that's something, yeah, I would just keep your eyes on our socials for that. And, hop into the beta because it's really helpful for us, and you're gonna get a kind of a brand new environment and things to play with, and it'll most likely be just fine for you. So
Yeah, so everyone definitely stay tuned. You might have seen some teasing on our social channels. So while we can't tell you anything more just yet, we're really excited to be able to tell you about things. And part of us doing more of these live streams more often is just to be able to kind of keep up communication more often, be able to talk with you all, answer your questions when we can. So, of course, definitely feel free to use this time with us. If you've had any burning questions for Kyler, now you're kind of getting some more behind the scenes. I know for me, this week I got to really learn what a DSP engineer really does, and that was something that, although, ask me again what it stands for. Kyler, tell me one more time. I already forgot.
digital signal processing.
Digital signal processing.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
learning. We're learning together, which is awesome. So if anyone has any more questions, of course, please feel free to ask us here while we're kind of in the last 15 minutes or so of our live stream right here. So you talked about getting to go to events. So I want to talk about. Do you have a really fun memory of going to a convention, beacon related, of that
Yeah,
sort? Yeah.
I mean, the Twitch cons are always a blast, and it's always fun because the team's there too in most cases. So, like, we get to go out and do stuff together and hit up these shows, and and it's like it's a good time to kind of like see what we've done and for who,
Yeah.
and just get like our heart is like so full when we come back because we just get like we've always had this reaction with people like when they come up to our booth, even if they're like, "Oh, I've heard of you," or like, "Oh, what's this?" And then we give them like a 10-minute demo, and they're just like, "What is this thing?" Like, "Oh my god!" Like, I don't think I've ever seen a single person walking away from our booth and not be like, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen." I mean, I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but like
Yeah.
people love it. And it's so nice to know that we work our butts off all year and then we get to go see these people in this reaction. It's like so rewarding. So like that is always always like the best part about it. I've been to a few other smaller ones, kind of on a little like on a solo as well, and just like meeting the community is just so cool, and like getting to especially some of these events where they're mixed with like tabletop gaming, and like I
Yeah.
like board games a lot too, and I'm like so it's just like seeing people just be with their friends and they may just have mostly an online community and they all come together and hang out in like real
Yeah.
life and there's
Are
just like
you
so much
also a D
love.
and D
It's like really
player?
cool. I play D&D, but I don't play it, you know what I mean? Like I have and I like it, but
Chat, you know
I
what
don't have
this
like a
sounds like
group
to
right now.
me? We're slowly making this a reality to have D&D meetings at BEACN because
Yeah,
so far I've got two guests. D&D is a yes. BEACN D&D campaign. Chat,
that'd
would
be
you want to see
sweet.
that as a special live stream? Maybe we could get it to happen sometime. That'd be so fun.
I'd
Oh,
be
Judera
100%
is
in.
saying stripping wires with your teeth before your interview with Harris at
Oh,
DreamHack. What? Tell
yeah.
us
Yeah,
about
right.
that. What is
Okay, yeah, that was man, when was that? I think that might have been I don't know if that was yeah, anyway, we were doing an interview with Harris Heller, and we only had one interface. So we needed two microphones. And I was like, okay. And they're like, we're going on in 2 minutes.
that?
I
Yeah.
was like, oh God. So I ended up like taking two XLR cables and just like cutting them and like stripping the wires with my teeth and like getting all the tying the mics together into one interface
Oh
and like
my
taping them
gosh.
up in like a minute and a half, and plugging them in. And we're like, we're good. It was pretty funny. Greg's like,
Wow.
that's why we like having Kyler here because you can just like rip apart a cable and make our mics work. And yeah. So it was pretty
Wow.
funny.
That's so
I
great.
mostly focused on like hardware stuff when I was in university and my whole childhood, just actually physically building things. So when I went into
Yeah.
software, it was kind of like now it's a whole new realm. But yeah, yeah,
You know,
exactly.
Beacon
That's a
Team's
funny
got
story. I
so
forgot
many
about that.
fun stories. Reading from chat, Kyler doing donuts on an electric scooter at TwitchCon 2019.
I was not drinking, I promise. No. That was
Very important.
yeah, those little boot like the scooters you boot around in, and then we don't have those in Victoria or even Victoria or Vancouver. So like when anytime we go to a American convention, they're just like, "Let's go scootering." And it's
Right.
cheaper than a taxi, so we're all just ripping around town. Yeah,
Yeah.
luckily none of us got too killed, but um yeah,
That's
no,
all.
we've had a lot of fun. Like I said, especially as a team. Like the San Diego TwitchCon was a blast. I really like that city. Um and
Yeah.
like I said, I've been to a few smaller ones on my own. We went one of the cooler ones that we did. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I went down solo to support a podcasting setup. This was sort of before we formally um, supported multi mic connections to our app. So we had these tables with 5 BEACN mics, and there's
Yeah.
5 tables of 5 BEACN mics set up, and they're all running through one app into a computer, and it was like working. It was like wild. So then they shot these podcasts like over and over and over, cycled them through the day. Right below like this massive air pump that they were using to blow up like this thing they called the Rainbow Road. And it was
Oh.
like this huge air inflatable thing that went through the whole convention. It was like the loudest thing. I was like, how the hell are we gonna do this? So we anyway, with the denoising though, they managed to shoot all these podcasts and they came out like amazing. And they were just like so
Wow.
stoked. And all these podcasts, they had some big podcasters in there and they're like, oh, what is this thing? What is this thing? So once again, just like having people like using our products and seeing the reactions was just like so priceless. And this was like a blockchain slash podcasting convention or something, so it wasn't
Yeah.
specific to gaming, but yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Oh, that's so cool. Ooh, a really interesting question. How do you feel about noise canceling tech? Is it the opposite of what you do?
Um, well, we do noise canceling on our mic, so I wouldn't say it's the opposite. So like a lot of the algorithms that are developed to run on like video cards and stuff, or like it's pretty hard to like to match some of the performance of those things because they're running on a video card. So we all
Right.
our stuff runs in an embedded system, not only on a we don't even run it on a processor on your computer, right? Like our
Mhm.
focus is keeping the load off of your computer. So we have like a pretty impressive anti denoising for running it on a microprocessor. So as far as like the sorry, I can't remember the names of them right now, but like the NVIDIA ones and stuff that can take out like barking dogs and stuff, they're still
Yeah,
like
like the
quite they
NVIDIA
still
broadcast, things like that.
yeah, they still like degrade the audio quality quite a bit, like more
Yeah.
than I would like. I mean, I'm pretty specific, but I really don't like how it makes the stream sound, especially in an and also like we've always had this funny belief in denoising and someone's like yeah but I can like hammer a hammer in the background and I can like start run my vacuum. I'm like, why are you streaming with a hammer and a vacuum in the background? I'm like, I get that there's some scenarios you can avoid, but like
Right.
great, great, but like it's it's like it's
Right.
kind of out of the world experience. Like the people are like, yeah, I can fire my AR-15 in the background while I stream, and I'm like, cool, but like, don't you want to hear that? Like, it's just like really funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate especially some of the AI driven denoising stuff, but ours is like is more specific to our purpose. So
Mhm. I'm seeing a great question from It's Lacker. Not sure if this has been asked already, but where might be a good place to start if we're interested in DSP, VST audio development?
we use with some help software suite called Juice. It's Juce. It's free, I believe, to try out, and you can download like a Visual Studio that's can write, and so you can write small like VST audio programming apps. You can program. They have like some built-in UI stuff, so you can basically like create your own little VSTs that you could plug into like a DAW, or if you're not familiar with VSTs, they're essentially just these little standalone plugins you can plug into some audio
Mhm.
programs. So that would be the place I would start. There's lots of tutorials, lots of a huge community with that stuff.
A lot of
I've used the
documentation.
community to try to find help on some things sometimes. Yeah, you can integrate with your audio interface and make like a reverb and stuff like that. There's tons of examples.
Yeah, and that makes so much sense. And I know you talked a lot about kind of going through school. Would you say a lot of what you know now is kind of from what you've learned from going to school for it, or did you do a lot of self-teaching, or do you think it's kind of this mix of both?
Probably a lot of both. I mean, with like anything, what makes you better at something is experience. But
Right.
I would have to say that my degree in electrical engineering and learning and taking digital signal processing courses and learning the fundamental math, like there's a lot of calculus involved in like some of the fundamentals as well. Which, to be honest with you, like any degree, I'm not going to go and whip out a calculus formula for something like unless I'm Lars and I want to design my own denoising from the ground up. But it's it's very, very useful to know those fundamentals and to
Right.
really truly understand what's happening and like with a sample rate and an A to D converter and a D to A. Like those things are really important. And A to D is an analog to digital, and a digital to analog is the other way around. So that's essentially making a digital signal into high so you can hear it and back and forth.
Yeah.
So understanding how those work and then is a huge asset to learning how to manipulate that audio once you get into a digital form. So it's that was taught in school. Most people can't say their degrees do much for them when they come out of school, but mine really did. It felt useful.
Right.
Um, so I'm happy about that. But most of the software skills I learned were probably due to just experience,
Yeah, totally makes sense. And I know
exposure.
Thomas from BEACN also saying Juice, I think, is a good starting point. It's one of the most used libraries for audio development due to how flexible it is. So hope that's helpful. Hope that's helpful to answering your questions. Yeah. Oh, you studied computer science in college with some exposure to EE and CE. So this is all making sense. Happy to hear it and glad that
Perfect.
this has been
Great.
helpful.
Sometimes I feel like I'm talking and people are like, what the hell is he talking
Yeah, no, it's been
about?
great. It's been great. And of course, if anyone has any last minute questions you want to ask before we kind of wrap up our stream here, definitely feel free to ask. And thank you all so much for tuning in. We're going to be pulling for our giveaway winner in just a little bit here. So get your final questions in. Oh my gosh. And also, what's up, Lycos? Welcome in. Aw, are we all in love with the Beacon mic? I get compliments on a regular basis from gamers who hear it. Thank you for the kind words. We appreciate it so, so much.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're pretty
Oh
proud
my.
of it.
And then we've got Judaris, the reason for the scooter donuts. Do I dare click on this right
Oh
now? We do
God.
have a
What is
giveaway
this?
that we're going to be pulling
Oh
for
my
very
God.
shortly.
Thanks. Thanks, Greg.
Oh my, another reason to come say hi to us if you see us at an event, because there are some
Wow.
very fun convention stories that'll happen. Oh my gosh. Oh, and thank you all so much for the kind words. The series is so much fun, and if you've been enjoying it, definitely let us know on our social channels and in chat and Discord and things so that we can keep doing cool stuff that you all enjoy. We just thought it'd be really fun to connect with the community in this way. So, and in terms of upcoming conventions, happy to let you all know that we will be at PAX West. So some of the team will be in Seattle for PAX West. So if you're going to PAX West, you should be there. There's some cool stuff happening that you'll be able to find out very, very soon. But PAX West is right around the corner. It's around the end of the month. So yeah, how do we enter the giveaway? Type Hilbo, Hillbo. Hilbo. Get your last minute entries. If you did it once, you don't have to do it again. Trust that the bot has counted you. our Nightbot friend has got you covered. So this could be our time. How do you feel about Hilbo, Kyler? Are you a Hilbo fan?
I love Elbow. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool. And this is before like you could just use AI to generate cool characters. So it's
Uh-huh.
like we actually made him and he's like, wow, yeah, I know I like him. He's cool.
Yeah.
It's my favorite part about Hilbo is when we like cut a box open of Hilbos
Yeah.
and they're all like stuffed in there. There's like 400 Hilbos in this tiny box, and they're all like, "Bah!" And you can just like you can hear it, even though they're not saying anything, and they're like,
Yeah.
"I'm free," and they're all like smiling, and it's like really scary, but at the same time, like really cool. And they're all, or you see one with like its eye poking in, like one arm, like trying to get out of the box. It's like it's hilarious. Honestly, they crack me up,
Yeah.
and
Oh
they're
my
really
gosh.
soft. Like really soft.
Did they start
Good.
walking? You may never know.
I
You
don't know,
blink and you
and
miss it.
that's it's one of those decisions. It's like, is that thing gonna murder me or take me or bring me ice cream? I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's like it kind of remind me of like the Rick and Morty episode with like the Mr. Mises. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
ever seen that.
Yeah.
They're like really nice at first, and then they just like want to murder you at the end.
Yeah.
Anyway, our hobos won't murder you, I promise. Just don't get too many of them so they can band together, then you'll probably be fine.
Yeah.
Or do. See what happens.
If you look at Hilbo long enough, it starts to become unsettling. Oh my
That's
gosh.
what I mean. They make great
Oh,
airplane pillows though.
we've got a nice question. How do you change the color diffusers on BEACN? We were just talking about this a little bit earlier.
Color diffusers. That you're
Or
talking about the mic tips, I'm assuming.
oh,
Is
I thought you were talking about the LED. That was me not reading
Oh,
properly.
sorry, that's just a clear diffuser. The
Yeah.
LED settings are in the app. You can set them to whatever you want in the
Yeah.
RGB spectrum. But if you're
Yeah.
talking about the mic foams, which you can swap these out,
Yeah.
you just have to get your finger or like a little key or something in between the
Ah, the
chassis here
foam.
and
Okay.
pop it up. You have to be a little more aggressive than you'd think. Yeah. So we use like if you use a credit card or like a guitar pick or something really thin, you can kind of slide between where the top of the where the mic ends and the plastic starts. You can kind of slide it in between there and kind of move it along and it'll pop out. There's 4 clips on each side. You have to be a
Mm.
little more aggressive than you think you would, but you'll probably be okay.
Ooh, we got another good question here. This might be silly, but do accents affect the accuracy of any of the algorithms? Different speech speeds, patterns, etc.
I That's a really good question. To be honest with you, we don't have enough like data to really confirm that, but I think that based on our algorithms, we have something that recognizes like a voice versus background noise. But I don't think like the consonants are pretty obvious in all accents and all languages.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's probably fine. Like I mean, I'm sure there's probably some settings you could do for some like if there's some languages are more nasally or more or accents are more nasally, that sort of thing, and this tends to be a little more mid-range and stuff, there might be some EQ settings for that. In
Yeah.
fact, when you put the EQ guide on, there's a nasal setting, so like if you feel like that's not something you want, you can pull it out of that EQ. So there's specific settings that would probably be better for certain voice types and languages and different accents. So definitely, probably. I'm just not exactly sure what they would be, but that was one example.
Right. Yeah.
No
Awesome.
problems though. I can't see them doing any issues, like causing any problems for you.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, makes sense. I do know that there have been a couple of questions that have been asked, maybe about shipping, some logistic things, but fret not, we do have more episodes of the Meet the Team series coming, where we might have some friends who will be able to speak more directly to those topics. But given that Kyler is on the engineering team, we're keeping it to questions that are a little bit more relevant to Kyler. So we didn't get to your question today, or it wasn't exactly fitting. Feel free to ask us on our social channels, and we're also keeping track of questions for our future episodes of our live streams. So yeah, definitely stay tuned. I think it might be time for us to pull a giveaway winner, Kyler. What are you thinking? Should
Let's
we
do
should we
it.
pull a winner? I think
I
it's
think so.
time.
Everyone in? Last
Let
chance.
Your last chance. Your last chance to get in. So we're gonna roll our winner, and then you're gonna need to speak up. You're gonna have to be here. We want to make sure we give it to somebody who's here to claim the prize. Also, of course, this is just to regions that we currently are able to ship to. A full list of our sweepstakes terms and conditions can be found in the description of our Twitch page. Good luck, everybody. Let's see who is gonna win. Let's roll it. All right, Ruben Soros, congratulations. You are our winner. Hello.
Nice.
Oh my
And they're
gosh.
here. Awesome.
Woo! If your Twitch
Congrats.
whispers are on, we can send you a message and get all of your information after the stream. But congratulations! I see that you're here. We'll be able to get you all sorted and good to go. Congratulations, GG's. And so, if don't worry if you didn't win this time, we'll be having some more fun things in the future. While we wrap up here, Kyler, any final words you'd like to give to everybody who's watching at home?
Nothing in particular, but like I said, I was following up on before. Like we really appreciate this community connection, and honestly, I appreciate all you guys for coming. It's and the feedback you can have, or the joining in on our beta launch. All this stuff is so helpful. We're such a small team, and we're trying to do big things. So um, it's we need you guys, and like I said, I really appreciate you guys all coming out here. So
Oh, absolutely. Thank you all so much for joining us. We will have another stream very soon. If you want to keep up to date with us again, join our Discord, our community Discord. We've got a whole bunch of stuff that's going on. And otherwise, we will see all of you very soon. Have a great rest of your weekends, everybody. Have a nice day, and we'll see all of you very soon. Bye, everybody.
bye, guys. Thank you.